What is up, guys? It is Tony here, and today we are here with my MacBook Pro 15-inch. If you guys remember, I bought this exactly 2 years ago at the beginning of my first year of college. I bought one of the higher-end models. This was $21.99, I believe, and it had a 2.67 gigahertz processor, a 650M, I believe, for the graphics processor. This is a very fast machine. The only thing is that it came with a 750 gigabyte hard drive disk, which at first was extremely fast, had no issues, booting wasn't that painful. When I opened up the laptop from sleep mode, it wasn't that bad to go between sleep and wake. The only issue that this computer has at this point in time is that it's taken a lot of abuse over the years, and all of the abuse that this computer has taken has led to the hard drive disk especially becoming very slow. Every time I try to boot this computer, I have to give it a good 10 minutes to wait for it to boot, and that is no joke. I'm not exaggerating by any means. It freezes up a lot. It has a lot of issues with the hard drive, and my best guess is because it's taken a lot of abuse. Over the last 2 years, I've rendered tons of large files and encoded files to this hard drive, and that could really take the performance down quite a bit. So today we're going to be doing a hard drive swap where I'm going to put an SSD into the space where the original hard drive is, and I'm going to move the original hard drive to the optical drive using an optical drive replacement kit. It's a really cool thing that's been done for the last 3-4 years now. It's a very cool little procedure, a little fun modification you could do to your MacBook. And to be completely honest, this is a huge upgrade for any computer and will increase your boot times to upwards of 10 seconds. Imagine clicking the power button after your laptop dies and it booting in 10 seconds. It's that quick, it's that impressive, and I think this is a great, affordable option that most people can do themselves. So, let's get into the video, guys. So the first thing we're going to do here is do a benchmark to figure out how much of a speed increase we're getting here once we put in this new SSD. And as you guys can see, the read is around 90 megabytes per second, and the write is around 70 to 80 megabytes per second. I'm not going to show you this whole speed test because it takes quite a bit of time to complete the test. But we're looking at peak speeds around 85 megabyte writes and 95 peak on the read megabyte per second. So as you can see, the standard hard drive here is extremely slow. So once we get into the build, once we finish the build, we'll do another test with the new hard drive configuration. So here is the solid state drive we're using. It's the Samsung 250 gig Evo 840 drive. It's extremely quick. And over here you can see on the right there's the caddy for the hard drive, and on the left there's some Torx screws, which you're going to need some Torx screwdrivers. I'll leave the links in the description to every part and every tool we're using in this video. So the purpose of this video is not going to be to have close-up instructions that are very precise on how to do this. It's basically a documentation of what I'm doing here and the speed increases of the hard drive that I put in. This is just going to be an overview of the steps very briefly. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and you're going to take off all of the screws on the bottom of the MacBook. The 3 screws that are near the black air vents in the back of the MacBook are going to be a little bit longer. I think I'm going to show that in a second here. So 3 of them are going to be pretty long. You're going to want to keep track of which ones those are, and one of them is going to be short like the other one, so I'll probably show that in a moment here. So once you've finished removing all of the screws, just grab the back of the cover near the black air vents and just lightly pull up. It comes off pretty easy. And my computer is actually pretty dirty right now. There's a lot of dust on the battery there, so I'm going to take the time to go ahead and clean it up real quick. So I now have a cloth at hand to start cleaning the computer, but before I do anything, I am removing the battery connector. You see me doing that right now. Whenever you're working on your MacBook, take off the battery connector first and foremost so you don't accidentally short anything. And now I'm going to go ahead and clean off the dust in the computer. Now in the bottom left here, you're going to notice there is the hard drive, and there's two screws right above it on a black lever that holds in the hard drive. You're going to go ahead and unscrew both of those with a Phillips head. They're not going to come out because they're locked to the lever. I'm actually trying to figure out why it's not coming out, but I kind of figured it out. And, you know, it's good I figured that out for you because it was a little confusing there. And once you're done, you pull that right off, put it aside. Make sure you don't lose that, of course. And boom, you could pull out the hard drive, but don't pull too hard because there's a cable, SATA power and data transfer cable. Just pull that out very easily and just let it hang around. And now we can get ready to put in the new hard drive, as you can see. So here I'm going to go ahead and put in the connector. And now we're going to get ready to put some screws in there so we can mount it in. So what you're going to do is go ahead and grab the old hard drive, and as you can see, unscrew the 4 screws, 2 on each side from the hard drive. You're going to need a Torx screwdriver, a T6 I believe, and if you can't figure out what size it is, just keep trying, don't put too much pressure, and once you find the right one, just go ahead and unscrew those 4 screws and go ahead and put them into the SSD. Once all 4 screws are in, just go ahead and slide it back into the slot. Just make sure you don't put too much pressure on anything and break anything. Put back on the black lever there, and screw back in the screws just like you unscrewed them before. Your SSD is now installed properly in the computer in the appropriate slot, because this slot where your original hard drive was has the highest rate of bandwidth, so it'll allow you to get the best speeds as possible through the SATA 3 connection. So now we can move on to replacing the optical drive with a hard drive disk. To the right of the optical drive, there are 3 connections that you need to remove. The first one, as you can see, is the strip that's going across there. There's also a camera there that I was having a little bit of trouble getting out. The best way to do it, I'm going to show you right now, is to pull up the wire that goes around the optical drive and pull sideways, not vertically, horizontally, to get the camera cable to come out. The last cable we must remove is the SATA connection for the optical drive, which is at the bottom right of the optical drive. Now this is where things start to get tricky. Just above the optical drive there is a black shroud with 2 screws holding it in. It's a bit hard to locate the screws. Unfortunately I didn't really record a great example to show you which screws to remove. I will leave a link to a more detailed guide in the description, but basically on the right there's going to be a screw that's sort of recessed inside of a black plastic shroud. It's a black screw, and you're just going to unscrew that first, which takes a little bit of effort and it's a little bit difficult to get out. So I'd recommend just keeping the screw inside of the black shroud, loosen slightly, and then go to the left screw, which is a bit longer of a screw, and it's actually a little bit higher up. It's not as recessed, so it's easier to take out. And then once you feel they're loosened sufficiently, go ahead and pull up on that black shroud. If it's resisting, I'd recommend loosening up those screws a bit more until the black shroud comes up completely without any effort required. Now the last step we must do is basically remove the optical drive. There are 3 screws holding in the optical drive. If you take a good look on the right side, toward the center of the right side of the optical drive, there's a pretty easy to see screw. There's actually 2 screws right next to each other. One is connected to the motherboard. You're probably not going to want to loosen up that one, so just go for the other one if it makes things simpler. You're going to need to use a Torx screwdriver, T6 actually, to remove these, and there's also one in the top left and one in the bottom left as well. So they're a little bit difficult to recognize where they are, and they're also kind of difficult to remove. If you don't have a magnetic screwdriver, just let them fall over and sit where they are, and don't stress out about it too much, because as you will see here, I just simply dig in there and grab the screws. It's a bit difficult, they're a bit small, and I have big hands, but you'll get through it, so don't stress out too much if they do fall under the optical drive, because you're going to be removing it, so it's not a big deal. So now we're going to prep our optical drive caddy. As you can see, there's mine. I'll leave a link in the description to the same exact one I have. And basically, what we need to do is first insert the SATA connection that came with the Apple optical drive. And we also need to remove a bracket that holds in the Apple optical drive because the caddy does not include it. So I'm removing the SATA connection right now. And right next to it, the SATA connection is easy to identify. It's basically a black plastic connection that can be removed easily. And right next to it, you will see the bracket that needs to be removed and reinstalled on the SSD. You're basically going to use a Phillips screwdriver, unscrew it, and then you're going to just install it on your SSD. So I am now holding the optical drive caddy. I have put the SSD inside of the optical drive caddy. And there are 4 screws on either side, well, 2 screws on either side of the SSD as part of the caddy that you could screw in to tighten in the SSD to make sure it doesn't move around or somehow get loose from the optical drive. It's pretty easy to do. You just get the Phillips head and screw it in, tighten it in, just like you would with any other 2.5-inch drive or even 3.5-inch drive. And once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and get ready to insert it in the laptop. Just like you'd expect, you just place it down in there. Don't be too forceful. It should just sit in very calmly like I just did. And it may wobble a little bit. That's because you haven't screwed it in yet, which is now the next step. Now this step happened to be the most frustrating for me because without a magnetic screwdriver, it's very difficult to get a screw down into a deep, sort of narrow gap in the computer between the edge of the laptop and the optical drive. I kept dropping the screw a lot, kept having issues with it, so I really would recommend trying to find a Torx screwdriver. Don't make the mistake I did. Find one that has a magnetic ability to pick up screws. I bought the cheapest one online. I am going to include the cheaper version that I have in the description. But if you could take the time to find one that's better, suited for this, like I said, it's probably, better. You're better off doing that. But if you want to make it work without the magnetic screwdriver, what I did is I basically dropped the screw down near it and then used the screwdriver to kind of get it to fall into place. And once it fell into place, I basically screwed it in. So it was a pretty annoying and tedious process. If you don't have a lot of patience, it can aggravate you very easily. So do whatever you feel will work best for you. Now, once you have all the retaining screws in for the optical drive, you're going to push down that black shroud that holds those 2 cables that we removed earlier. You're going to push it down, put in the long screw on the left and the short screw on the right. And once you've put in those 2 screws, you're going to start putting in those connectors that you removed earlier. So, of course, the connectors you need to put on are that one that goes across the optical drive, the camera connector above it, which you're just going to slide in parallel, and the SATA connector. And basically what I did is I just placed it down, gave it a little bit of force. Might have given it a little bit too much force. I wouldn't recommend that. But I'm pretty trusting of hardware from Apple. I think that it could take it. It could take the abuse. And once those are all in securely and you're happy with how they fit, the last thing you're going to do is put back the battery connector and screw up the MacBook Pro, put back on the back covering, and you're ready to go. Pardon the exposure on some of these shots, but the first thing you're going to want to do is find the disk utility and select the SSD you just installed. You can see it says Samsung SSD. Go to the Erase tab and name what you want your hard drive to be called, and then erase it using Mac OS Extended Journal. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a hard drive that's ready to be copied with a operating system of Mac OS, so you can use it as a startup disk. Once your disk is finished formatting, you're going to open up some sort of copy or cloner program. I use Carbon Copy Cloner, as you can see on the top there. This program is free. You get a trial, and it allows you to do what you need to do. And if you like the program, I guess you could buy it if you wanted to, but it's basically a free program to do what we need, which is clone our original Macintosh hard drive to our new SSD. Now, as you can see on the left, there's the source. You're basically going to click there, and it's going to let you choose your source hard drive, which you should hopefully remember the name of that. And then you're going to choose the destination, which is what you just named your SSD. And you're going to go ahead and click clone. And it's going to take a good couple hours, depending on how many gigabytes you have on your drive. So let's fast forward now. So the last step you're going to need to do is open up your system preferences. And once those open up, you're going to go ahead and go to Startup Disk. And once you're in Startup Disk, you're going to select your SSD as the new startup disk for your computer. And when you do that, you're going to go ahead and click Restart in the bottom right. And once your computer restarts, you will be running on your new SSD, and you will have some lightning fast speed for your computer. Now, once the restart initiates, it's going to take a while for the computer to boot down because it's, taking in all these changes and trying to process them. But once the boot up process starts, it'll be extremely quick. So, while this is happening, I'm going to take the time to talk about my experience with this new, much faster SSD. Before I upgraded this computer, like I said earlier, boot ups could take upwards of 10 minutes, and when I open up my laptop to wake it up from sleeping, I literally always have to wait about a good 2 minutes for it to completely get ready for me to enter in my password. It kind of freezes up for a second there. This new SSD has taken that time down to nothing. It's pretty much an instant process of opening up my laptop, punching in my password, I'm in. And anyone who has struggled with a hard drive disk on their MacBook Pro for the last, 3 years of ownership or whatever, they know these woes. After a while, these drives do get very tired. So this is a very worthwhile upgrade. Now, here's the first boot on the SSD. It's not going to be the fastest. This is only going to improve with time because, of course, we just put this drive in. It's just initiating for the first time. It's a brand new drive. It's not broken in at all. But this first boot took maybe 20 seconds or so at most. Maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm not sure. I never timed it. But you could time it for yourself. Boom. I'm ready to log in now. So that's a pretty impressive boot time to the login screen. And now let's go ahead and do some benchmarks. So right off the bat here, Blackmagic disk speed tester shows some pretty impressive results here compared to the hard drive disk. Right up to 480 megabyte per second write speeds. It does drop down. Of course, the testing they do is all sorts of copying of files, encoding multiple files, encoding one large file. These tests will all yield different speeds, but overall the peak speed I'm seeing is about 500 megabyte per second write and 540 megabyte per second read, which I'm not even sure if that's in line with the Samsung rating for how fast this drive is. That might even be a little bit over the speeds they've said. So, I mean, this test may be a little bit plus or minus in terms of it might be a little bit generous with the test results. I also decided to do a Geekbench 3 benchmark, and to be honest, it didn't show any difference. Geekbench is more about showing processor and RAM memory time, so the lesson of all of this is that this is more for booting up your computer, turning off your computer, sleep-wake, and of course, any sort of rendering of files is going to be mostly with your processor in terms of what that processor speed is. But as you're encoding those files and creating those files through, say, Final Cut or whatever, it's going to be able to create that file much quicker through its write speed on the SSD. So there are a lot of benefits to this. I think this is a very worthwhile update to my computer, and I think that for the price, it's not that bad. I think many of you guys should try this out if you do have a MacBook or MacBook Pro. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. I put a lot of time into trying to make this just a very professionally laid out video. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I might be a little bit rusty, but tell me what you think. That is it, guys. I will see you guys next time.